Hello everyone, it's been a while since I've made any new videos. Normally, I would be making SCX-24 rock crawling videos, but during the winter time, it's been multiple years, so most recent winter, I got into these 1/28th scale. I guess these would be, that's a rally car, this is a touring car, whatever, but this is a Kyosho Mini Z. It's a Mazda 787B. Super cool looking. This is the WL Toys K989. Very, very interesting. It's a very interesting car. So, if I've actually had one of these in a earlier version, and the major difference between this one and the earlier version was they've added a heat sink to the newer version, and that's basically the only difference, other than the plastic parts in the suspension are a little more smooth out of the box. The diffs are still crap out of the box on that because they're using the white plastic similar to the plastic in these gears that they give you. This is like a little bag of stuff that comes with it. The newer version has the wrench as well. This one came with 2 of these 2S LiPo battery packs. Kind of cool. Same radio. The same very, very firm, radio with the K989, probably the K6 or 969 as well. So the Kyosho radio is so much better. Just easier to fine tune, not as much resistance in the actual steering wheel. Probably, a major part of the price point difference of this one. This also being, the Mazda, I guess, registered body or whatever. This one just being kind of a mock-up Hoonigan, but it doesn't say that, but it's supposed to look like the Hoonigan, right? Very interesting. If we pull this up here, you can see that heat sink right there. There's the metal pinion that comes on. Oh, you guys can't see that. There you go. Metal pinion that comes on it, but they give you these plastic ones for altering the gear ratio, which, there's a multitude of plastic pinion gears for this as well. The Kyosho comes with this stack. There's like 20 of these little cones. It comes with some extra parts. Those are the things you use to change your pinions. Those are extra wheel nuts in there. There's the tool to take, that right there is the tool to take the wheels off. Another pinion spacer. You can see the pinions here, right there. So I actually have removed the 6-tooth pinion from that, and I'm using the 7, so I had to change, over to a different one of those and all of that. But all in all, with the Kyosho, you have to buy your rechargeable AAAs. So what kind of makes, in the newer version of the K989, they did eventually add in one of these so you can take the wheels off, which, anybody who has kind of been in this for a while. You probably have a few of these laying around, but it is nice that if it was your first one, that they now throw in the little 4-way lug wrench. That's very nice. The gears that come with the K989, so I want to say, so this one is the only, this gear that you can see the flat section right there. So these are pinions, all of these over here. This is to change off of the center drive shaft, your spur gear. Here's your pinions. I just go with the metal pinion in the gearing that came on this car, because another thing about the new ones, the engine plate, or I'm sorry, the motor mount or plate doesn't have the slots in it to adjust, so you can't really adjust for your gear mesh. This, for about $79 plus tax on Amazon, came with two 2S, I want to say these are 450 milliamp an hour, 400 milliamp an hour, 7.4 volts, 2S lipos. The other one's in it, actually, not hooked up, just in it. So for $79 you get two of these. You get this USB charger for the packs. They throw in a wrench, some extra gears, the remote I showed you earlier, and I took them off, but it had the little tensioner clips that go on the shocks, which it definitely gives you a better ride if you remove them. And the only thing I've really done to that, other than taking it apart, massaging the diffs a little bit, cleaning out the plastic parts, that's kind of the thing I wish they would do different about this car. Is I wish the diffs were better metal, or at least the better grade of plastic, similar to how they did the suspension components with the harder, like, ABS. So, these ball ends here and, back here, all much cleaner, very good, very good tension on those. But as you can see, you see that white plastic in there, still the cheap plastic in the diffs. So it takes some messing around with the diffs to get them to be nice and smooth, and kind of just going through and like checking. You want to take and open these gearboxes up, clean the diffs, check that the diffs aren't rubbing inside of these boxes, so that you get nice, smooth, and it's still a little growly. It's for under $100. It's probably like $90 with shipping and tax. Get it on Amazon for a deal. Still a really good car, though. I would like to get an aftermarket diffs, possibly the suspension. Definitely. I tried removing the this from the steering horn, this screw right here for the steering linkage, and it's like stripped. It doesn't fall out, but you can't unscrew it. So I'm probably going to get a new horn as well as linkages to get more steering angle out of it. I was trying to move that up to there and was unable to this hole up above here. But other than that, I tried doing that. I cleaned up the diffs, put a little grease in them, That's really it. And took off the, the little suspension tensioners that were in there. I took those off. A little dirty. But very cool car. Very cool car. I would like to upgrade the suspension, diffs, gearboxes, possibly get a lower profile body for it. I don't know how intense, the height of this body is, when you compare it to the Mini Z over there. But it's a very metal chassis. It's a very heavy car, especially now with this heat sink. You got that 2S in there. Got a decent motor, comparatively in size to the Mini Z. So this is, definitely, and let's see what we have here. Give you a little. So turn that on. Turn this guy on. And okay, so turning angle with that in that setting, not great. You know what I mean? But it's very fun to drive. It's got the brakes and then reverse. So it's a very interesting car. I do enjoy it very much. But it is it's got its downsides, its flaws, I guess. So, but for the money and really for the amount of, just, and you can see my O-rings on here to keep the body from bouncing around. I put these O-rings on here, cleaned up the diffs, greased. That's really it. Tried to get that moved right there, but was unable to, so I'm gonna have to order parts for that. But other than that, that's the K989 in a nutshell. Very, very fun to drive. It's kind of ballistic. I would say if you have some really boogered up diffs, when you start with it, probably gets like 9 or 10 mile an hour speed out of the box. Once you clean up the diffs, grease them, or just break it in. If you're, just gonna break it in, you just have to be very careful, because if there's binding and things and you're beating on it, very likely you might strip a gear or mess up a diff, strip a diff out or something like that, or break the cups on the diffs where your drive shafts go in, your axles. But all in all, trying to get this in here. All in all, though, for the price, very impressed by the K989. So impressed, I would like to, in the future, try maybe one of the WL Toys buggies. I've been, it's kind of an interesting, the hobby. I remember back in the days of my 1/10 scale days, having to go to the hobby shop to get parts and hope they were open, all that kind of thing. And, it was still, there was more economically easier choices, but the hobby's definitely become less expensive to get into. I do like the availability of, like, if you're on Amazon Prime, like, you can get this car in 2 or 3 days, any parts that you could want, and just, go nuts on it. And that's really cool. But, there's the charger again. And so $80-$90 with 2 batteries, recharger. You just have to add the double A's to the radio. And it's a pretty nice driving, nice looking car. Definitely cannot wait to get it on a track, but I'm gonna wait to maybe upgrade the wheels and tires, do the suspension upgrades, steering upgrades, maybe go brushless on it, but I'm not gonna, that'll be the last thing I do once I get all of the drivetrain issues worked out. So, which I mean, it doesn't really have issues now, but just don't want to be tearing up those plastic diffs trying to get, you know, brushless in there and be ripping them up. So, this guy. So, the Kyosho Mini Z, this is the MR03. So, rear wheel drive. If you were going to go Mini Z racing, this will be your most likely, you know, rear wheel drive motor setup. So, more than double the price of the WL toys. So, more than double the price, but Lexan body. This has the hard plastic body, very detailed. You know, I've got it tore up a little bit. Very detailed. The wheels, like the detail of this 787B is just amazing. You know, I love that car. Winner of the 91 Le Mans with the rotary engine. So very cool to get this. And not just so, I think, my honest opinion, if I was going, you know, if you're going to race, get the Mini Z. Not only because it's going to be the most capable and easiest to drive, in my opinion, out of the box. The better radio, there's no guessing game where your upgrades are, you know, available, and there's no guessing game to if the parts you get for this are going to fit it, if they're Kyosho branded Mini Z parts, and you know what chassis you have, very easy. Like things like wheel offset and stuff like that. One of the nice things about the Kyosho, the Mini Z, I mean, it comes with like a little, it's almost like a title to the car. Tells you all the information about it. So like what your wheel offsets and sizes are, the chassis configuration, things like that. So very nice looking body. And with the Mini Z's, you just kind of flex it out and push down on the wheels. So, you know, flex these out, pull this out, and pull that out of there. There's the body off to get a better look at the chassis. Now, some people would look at this and say, well, this chassis looks much cheaper than this chassis with the metal and, you know, little bit, you know, they're actually the same size motor, but this one seems to be more torquey, but it's probably because of the 2S in that K989. So, you know, this only downside to the Kyosho, the Mini Z. So, you know, it's more than double the price. It's 200. It just depends. You can get these just under $200. Some of them over $200. But then you have to do things like you got to add the, you know, Kyosho Speedhouse Mini Z batteries, the charger. That's my puppy. You know, you got to get your Mini Z charger to charge them up. This also takes 4 AA's in there in the controller. But for, you know, if you're going to get into racing Mini Z's or this size, if you're not at a club that would allow you, has some class where this flies, you know, you're gonna most likely want a rear-wheel drive Mini Z. At least 2, maybe 3 sets of these. I would say at least 3, maybe 4. charged up, ready to go, so that while you're running through them, you can keep one set on the charger. And, you know, much easier with finding the parts for the Mini Z. There is not a lot of like guesswork. Like I said, if you know your chassis, MR03 is what this is. You know, you pop these open right here, like so. You just put your AAAs in. I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys the similar little, and you know, the Mini Z does come with some nice little things, like the cones are very interesting. You know, I like to set up the cones a little bit and give her a quick blast. So, you know, that's cool. So you put your batteries in, and you know, the Mini Zs, they are actually excellent quality. You know, there are quite a few things like the oddness with the, you know, it's got like a 5-wire steering servo in there. But if out of the box though, they are pretty nice. They're very, you know, you might want to change springs, gearing, tires. You can change these over, but like it has the thing to add the gyro, all already set up. There's for binding, you know what I mean? So the Mini Z is pretty much just the best choice, especially if it's your first RC car. I feel like the Mini Z is just gonna take a lot of guesswork and headaches out of it. You actually turn, you know, got my radio on. You actually turn this on down here in the center. There's the switch, pull it forward, and you know, oh, and you can just hear how much smoother. Of course, 2-wheel drive, for all-wheel drive. So a lot of that smoothness just comes from having way less components for the drag. But the first time out of the box, this was way more chattery and rough sounding than it is now. So, you know, going through, cleaning the bits of plastic, like actually taking apart your diffs, cleaning any little burrs of plastic out of them, things like that. And that's like with any RC car, but these ones, those diffs are just kind of garbage. So either ordering upgraded diffs and putting them in, making sure they're greased up, or going through and cleaning those makes a huge difference in this one. But as for the Mini Z, you know, much better radio, you know, very, very like, you know, it's box stock Mini Z racing is very just easy to get into, because like the Mini Zs kind of have just really set up the whole class of racing. But I'm sure there are places that would allow, you know, they have some class for something like this, like a, you know, box stock Mini Z, and then like something like a pro stock or something where they let different chassis run other than the Mini Z chassis. You know, some places might only run Mini Zs but have like the rear wheel drives, all wheel drives, front wheel drives. Some might run them all together. You really just never know. Some might not allow these. Some might have a class for something like this, you know, that runs the 2S LiPo metal chassis with the Lexan body type of thing. Because I would really like to find a place where I could run both of these. My dog's whining. I'm going to have to take him out soon. But anyways, I just wanted to share these with you guys. And, you know, as I get some more parts, or if I have any more information I think of to share with you, I will be sure to do so. But I hope you guys have a wonderful Easter. Hope this finds you well. And God bless. Take care. See you guys later. Bye-bye.